Hi, I'm Matt from hockeyreviews.ca, and this is a review of the Warrior QR Edge stick. So sorry this took quite a while. I had a bunch of sticks I was doing reviews at the same time, hurt my wrist, and it should have been out a little earlier. So I'm going to compare this directly against the QRL, which was its direct predecessor. I was a huge fan of the QRL. It was one of my favorite sticks I ever used. Loved the kick point, loved basically everything about it. Warrior kind of came out with a new one, so they redid the taper. So I'll try to kind of show that off a bit here. So hopefully the light will show it off as well as sitting right next to the old dagger taper. So the dagger taper would get smaller at the bottom of the heel or hosel down here, where the edge does the same with, I can't remember exactly what it's called. I'm sure it's listed on the stick. But you can see it's doing it slightly differently. Now Warrior does a good job of using the paint to kind of show off the taper itself. But the big difference is, and we'll switch the other side too, just so you can see the difference is a little bit more. The big difference here is that the edge is now not just like a taper, but it has more sides to it. So hopefully the light is kind of bouncing off this correctly, where it now has, it's smaller at the top, smaller at the bottom, and it kind of bows out. So hopefully the light is kind of showing up here where it does have an extra edge there. So normally the stick all the way up here is just 4 edges, right? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, flat all the way through. Then once you get down to the edge itself and the taper is going kind of right here. And now you're kind of gaining that extra edge to it. So you can kind of follow the paint right here where it's flat, and then it tapers out, and then you have that edge down here. And then it kind of that piece right there flattens out into the blade itself. Now, very, very different design compared to the original one, which is just flat all the way through. Again, this was one of my favorite sticks. So it's interesting to see if this actually did anything. And the Covert series has always been a low kick stick. I used a DT1, was a huge fan of it, or DT1 LT was a huge fan of it. Got a QRL, luckily through VIP program, was a huge fan of it. And then I decided to buy an Edge because I wanted to see if it was as good as the QRL was. So one of my complaints about the QRL was that the graphics package, while nice, it didn't have the exposed carbon all the way through. So anytime you add a layer of graphics, especially like when it's not exposed carbon, it's going to add weight. So this black here would have had been weight just from paint, or the decal that they put on weighs more than just doing bare carbon throughout here. So one of my actual criticisms to Warrior was, why do the Covert QRL Pros have exposed carbon, yet the top of the line doesn't? So the QRL Pros back then had the whole stick was just exposed carbon, looked fantastic. Warrior's reasoning was the pros, so the people in the NHL, liked it to not look like carbon fiber, so they followed the requests. And then since they use the top end sticks and they want to sell the top end sticks, they did it here. Now that's fine, and if that's the truth, then by all means do what you gotta do. But then why is the Edge using exposed carbon all the way through? Maybe their opinions changed. With that said, I love the look of this stick. So I have always been a fan of Warrior's like graphics package in terms of the colors they use and kind of what they're doing. Even back in the days when they were crazy and all over the place, I really liked the Edge QRL. I thought it was a very good looking stick. I liked how they used Warrior negative space in the design to actually do the, not negative space, but just the background color and use the letters out on the actual colors. I think this stick looks infinitely better than the QRL. I really love the exposed carbon too. So Warrior did a great job in that. Now on to the more important parts, I guess. Warrior keeps coming out with different minimus carbons. I don't know. They say it's like more weave or something. I can't tell a difference looking at the two weaves. When I look here, I can't tell a difference between these two. I honestly can't really tell a difference from playing with it either. I don't know if it's a marketing thing or not. I would have to look into the legit technical specs, which I'm honestly not also an engineer in terms of like the materials engineer and stuff like that. So it probably wouldn't do much for me anyways. But I can't tell a difference between one or the other in terms of their like what number minimalist carbon is. I know I think the new ones are 1400 for the new alpha, so I'm not sure what that does. I can't comment further on that. So I'm just going to leave that as it is. And just to kind of show you what I'm talking about. So I guess this one didn't have it on it. But so here we have minimalist carbon 1200. And I know the alpha had, I think, minimalist carbon. Oh, here it is. Sorry. It's on this side. Sorry, it's upside down. Minimalist carbon 1000. So Warrior on the QRL came out with a blog post and said, we aren't looking to become the lightest stick. Now, when this stick came out, Sherwood had a lighter stick. I think Bauer did too. There was a couple of companies that had lighter sticks. They were advertising that weight doesn't mean everything and it's all about balance. This stick wasn't even close to being the lightest stick. I think it was like 430 grams or something like that. But it felt great in my hands. The balance was awesome. Everything about it felt really good. I never complained about the weight at all. I'm not someone who looks at the number for weight and says, yep, that's better than something that's heavier. I'm all about feel. True kind of advertises now about swing weights, and that's how they measure their weight, not in grams, but in swing weights, because that's how the actual balance of the stick feels. Warrior kind of went to a different direction with this stick. They definitely lightened it up and tried to make it way less. They also came out with limited edition version of this about 6 months after release called the QR Edge SL for super light. Now, I don't understand why it came out so fast and why they had to do a refresh there, but whatever. It kind of feels annoying to me when I bought this and like a month later there was a super light one out. But regardless, Warrior went to a lighter version of this or went to a lighter stick, and I found they took all the weight out of the blade itself. Now, I've always really liked the Covert series and Warrior sticks for their kind of blade feel. I found them quite pingy, quite lively, quite stiff, and I really enjoyed that. I've also found with them to be very consistent. Since the alpha, I feel like they've kind of gone away from that. The blade is still very pingy, and this blade is pingier than my QRL, and it feels stiffer than my QRL, so that's great. My issue is the balance of the stick makes it feel like there is no blade. So when I'm playing and when I'm not looking down at the stick and I'm trying to kind of feel where the stick is, without the blade, I find it feels like a shaft, and you're not totally positive where the blade is. And I had a problem with this on a Ribeiro stick, which was around 400 grams, where it felt like it had no blade at all. It just felt like a shaft. I would lose pucks on the blade all the time. Whenever I'd come stick handling out through someone, or even poking a puck away with just one hand on my stick, without that blade there, like without the feeling of the blade weight there, I would just lose it and it would kind of just roll off the stick. And I've had quite a lot of problems with that with the QR Edge, and I'd never had those issues with the QRL. So it's really disappointing to me in that regard. I think that too many companies are chasing a lower and lower weight for their sticks for advertising reasons. I feel like you can have a better stick and a better balanced stick that feels better in your hands with that swing weight that True advertises, without kind of sacrificing the actual feel of the stick. And I'm not going to say performance, because you can still have a good performing stick without the great balance. But for me, it really affects my game when I am skating with this, and I just lose it when I'm looking up for an outlet pass. Now, a lot of people can be critical and say, well, you suck and you shouldn't be doing that. I'm not the only person who used this stick who commented on that. In fact, Warrior does a VIP program and they get a ton of reviews and people talking about their sticks. I don't totally buy a lot of those comments. One person's who I do buy and listen to is Thinking Jack. I'll link his video in the description below. He has the same issues with this blade where he feels that he just loses the puck. I've talked to a few other people I really trust in their opinions of sticks, and their opinions are pretty much the same. Of the stick feels like it has no blade, and they would lose the puck on it when they're playing. Now, shooting this, so one thing that I did differently compared to my QRL is I went down to an 85 flex. So you can see right here, around 100 in the QRL, 85 in the QR Edge. Now the reason I did that is because I always felt Warriors play more whippy than their competition. So I always felt I went to 100 when I normally am 85 CCMs, 85 Bauer, because it would just be too whippy for me. I've had so many people talk about, no, Warriors play stiffer, that I figured, okay, well, I'm going to go to an 85 Warrior and see how it is. First round was with the Alpha, and I had some issues with the 85 there, but I figured, okay, maybe I just don't like the Alpha, so I got an 85 in Covert. Now, I shoot better. I took some shots in my basement with these two sticks back to back. I shoot much better with the QR Edge. I will just say that right off the bat. I shoot fairly well with the QR Edge. My shots are crisp, they're accurate, they feel really, really good. The QRL feels a little like it doesn't come off as hard, not quite as accurate. Now, I think that's to do more, I kind of feel like it has more to do with the flex than the stick itself. So it's unfortunate I don't have 100 flex of these to really try it out and test it out, but that's kind of my limitations here. My issue, so I will say the QR Edge shoots well. It's not that the Covert QRL shoots bad. It shoots well. It was one of my favorite shooting sticks until I tried a Trigger 2, and the Trigger 2 kind of surpassed it. But it's still, like, this is one of my favorite sticks, and I really like it. But the QR Edge definitely shoots better, but my issue is I cannot pass with this stick at all. So I play defense primarily when I play out, and I'm kind of known for the breakout pass. So behind the net breakout pass, behind our red line to the red line breakout passes. So hard passes on people, like splitting the middle, hard off the boards. Like, I'm known for passing. With this stick, I can't pass. When I'm behind the net, and like this happened yesterday when I was playing with it, because I wanted some final thoughts on this before I did the review. And I had a player totally open on their blue line. Now, normally I just kind of lean into it, fire a shot, which ends up being a pretty good pass to someone, and that's it. With this stick, I can't get those off consistently. It kind of flubs all, like way too often. It kind of rolls over itself. And with many other sticks, including this one, I was able to make those passes much more consistently, and it would be much firmer, but it'd be much more like manageable from their end and from my end too. With the Edge, I kind of have to hesitate for a second and then fire it off. I found that it's too whippy and there's too much, like the stick kind of releases too much when I'm trying to make those passes, which is why if I were to get another one of these, I would definitely go 100 flex, just because it kind of, while I can shoot better with this stick, I can't do my primary, like, benefit, like it doesn't add to the strengths of my game, which is my passing, because I kind of have to hesitate and think, well, how is this going to come off? Now this, it might be just totally my personal experience. I found that the majority of the people who use QR Edges or Covert series sticks are pure goal scorers. Like the people I've seen in my leagues and I play against my friends, like the people who use them are pure goal scorers. I haven't found someone who uses a Covert series that is actually like a phenomenal passer. Now, I'm sure someone watching will see that and say, well, I'm a fantastic passer. That's fine. You probably are. I probably don't play against people who are good enough. With that said, I have the same issues with this stick where I can't actually get a good pass off with it. And because that's kind of what my game's oriented in, I would have to change something up. So my change would be I would go to 100 if I have another chance with this stick, which, say I don't. So finally, one thing Warrior has done very well, and I say very well in the sense that every Warrior stick I've had since the DT1 LT, I've had no blade issues at all. The blades have held up very well. My old DT1 LT did split the blade and got soft. I've had no issues with this blade at all. Still feels pingy, still feels really alive. Feels basically the same way it did when I got it. So huge props to Warrior in that regard, because his blades are pretty durable for me and they work out that well. I just don't like the weight balance change of it. So that is my review of Covert QR Edge stick. Hopefully it was very helpful. This is coming from one of my favorite sticks to the next generation. It's definitely a step forward in a few things, but I feel like it's a step backwards in a couple others. And to me, I think it's a bad kind of I think Warrior's kind of going in a direction I'm not a huge fan of in terms of weight savings. To kind of lose a good balance of a stick, and I kind of hope they go back to what they did before to really make their products, I think, better overall, just so they can't get that. But they lose that marketing line of what the actual weight is. I like how it shoots. I definitely still think it plays too flexible for what it's rated at. I normally use 85s. I would go 100 on my Next Warrior stick. But that is what it is. So thank you very much for watching. Oh, recommendations. If I were to get these two, the QRLs are generally on clearance right now. I think that's a better buy. I don't think the changes are necessarily all positive on the QR Edge. And if the QRL is like half price, I would go that route. But a QR Edge is something to definitely look at, especially if you're a pure like goal scorer, pure sniper. That it works for that regards, but it doesn't totally work for my game, and unless I went to higher flex and everything like that. So anyways, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the description, leave them below. I hate to say this, check the description. Remember to subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. The links to do so are in my description. It helps me get gear like this so I can do reviews on. And if you ever make a purchase or don't make a purchase of a piece of gear because of one of my videos, please reach out to the manufacturer and just mention that. It helps me get some awareness so I can get on some like programs like, for example, Warrior VIP again. Just so I can get some stuff so I can do reviews on and talk about gear. Thank you very much for watching, and take it easy.